I'd like to show you how to validate your topology for a set of rules that you've created. So here we have the best topology that I've loaded, and I've done some digitizing. You can tell I've not done a great job of digitizing. There are gaps here, and there are a few other overlaps. Usually your errors are smaller than this. You can't see them if you just inspect the data, but you can check for errors. So just to review here, if I right-click on the topology, then left-click on properties, you can see here then that this table opens up, and I can look at the feature classes that participate and the rules that I created. And so you can inspect these rules. Basically, that land cover must not have gaps, that land cover must not overlap each of the polygons within that layer. Buildings have to be covered by land cover. I don't want them to go outside of a land cover polygon and into the roads. Roads must not overlap with land cover, and roads must be covered by the boundary of land cover. So I set those rules, and they exist in my topology, and now I want to see how good a job I did of meeting those rules when I digitized. So I want to validate the topology, and I validate the topology through this analysis, tools, and then into the toolbox. It might show up with favorites at first, but you want to go into the toolbox and go down to the data management tools. Open that up, and down near the bottom, there's these topology tools. And at the bottom of that, then there's this validate topology. So if I double left click, it asks me for the input topology. It's pretty straightforward. There's only one here to choose from. No other parameters. I hit run, and it goes and validates the topology. Oh, it says the topology has been validated. It's completed with warnings. So what's that mean? Well, I want to go to the edit toolbox, or panel with a set of tools here, and then look at manage edits, and that will do two things. It will open up a window here in the bottom that shows a table of all my errors. If I click on, it shows then in the main window the topology when I display it where the errors occur. And if I left click here in the corner to select a topological error, it'll show me that this error here corresponding to this big polygon, or in this window here, shows that the land cover must not have gaps. So there's somewhere there where there's a gap between this piece of land cover and another land cover, and so I have to go inspect the edge and find that error. Same thing here, land cover must not have gaps. So there's a gap here. So I work through these tools one by one, fixing them. Here's a land cover must not have gaps. So some of these are real errors. So this one here, for example, is a real error. This one above and this one below are probably not real errors, because if I look at them, it's actually a gap here caused by the road. So you'll have to interpret what are faux errors and what are real errors. And in this case, this is a faux error. It isn't a real error in the sense that there's a gap between this land cover and this other land cover, but I want that. So these rules could get really complicated. And if I were to say, well, it must not have gaps only with these features, except when these features are in between, they don't provide that possibility. So you just have to decide where's a real error and where's a fake error. In this case, this is one of those faux errors. So I'll go through then and identify where the errors are. So I know there's an error here. There's a must not overlap here. So land cover must not overlap. And so if I click on that, there's overlaps and gaps here in this piece. So I have to go back and fix them. So I can turn off the topology here if I want, and zoom in and set my editing to modify features, and go modify the vertices and select a feature, and then I can try and fix these overlaps and gaps. So here I go and fix this, and I fix this. Right? I save my edits, and then I'll revalidate the topology. So I'll go back to the geoprocessing. It has the same one shown before, so I'll run this validate topology. And then when I turn the topology on, it shows, oh, those errors no longer show up. I fixed them. And so I will inspect each of my errors in the error table one by one and decide, is that a real error or a faux error? And in some of these cases, it's pretty straightforward. Oops, didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually pan. And so I can see, here's a gap, and this is an overlap, and this looks like a gap. So where they're fatter, you can see gaps. But most of these that are outlining whole polygons, so you can see here it shows in this window on the side, this detail window. Once I fix all the little errors that are real errors, these big ones are often just those faux errors. And so there are various fixes. I could mark it as an exception if I think it's one of those faux errors and it won't show up. Or they'll give you other options. Often the option when it doesn't know what else is just to clear or create a feature. But some of these that are truly errors here, it can sometimes give you additional options. Looks like here it's just giving me a merge option, for example, in this fix here. So, or mark as an exception. So you go through then, repeat this edit to all the obvious errors you can see, then validate topology, then view, then edit again until all your errors that are real errors are gone, and save that before you go on to your next step.